Hello, in today's video I'm going to make an elephant with the Cricut Maker. This is a design that someone else has created and I'm just going to use the file that is available through Cricut Access to cut out the pieces that I need and then glue them together into a 3D form. So the first thing I need to do is to actually find that project in Cricut Design Space, and the search term I happen to know is elephant with gift bag. And the first one is the one I want. You'll find that there are lots of other elephants. Lots of people have copied this design and put their own versions of them up. First step is to press Make It. And that will take us to a page showing all the different cuts that are going to be made to create the elephant. Now, I don't want to have the gift bag in mine, so I'm going to hide that. And then if I look through the rest of the layers, there's also the bag itself, which I'm going to hide. Now, the design assumes that you're using a 12 by 12 inch card, but I've got A4 size card, so I need to make sure that all of the pieces that I'm cutting out are going to fit onto the piece of card that I'm using. And on this first page, there are just too many objects. I'm not going to fit them all on one A4 sheet. So what I want to do is send a couple of those to a new mat, and I need to make sure that I'm using the same colour as before. And likewise with this second item just here, move that onto that new mat. And if I move them together, they're going to fit. This now will fit on an A4 sheet, just making sure that it's within 21 centimetres wide and 29 and a bit tall. I can probably make a bit of space. If I rotate this piece round, I can move it up and just tweak that a bit more. There we go. And there's a bit more space. I probably won't be able to use any more space on this piece of card, but just looking through at everything, again, on this piece, there are too many objects to fit on the A4 sheet, so I'm going to rotate that one, move this one onto my new sheet here, and again move it in close, and then it's going to fit on the A4 sheet. And now if I'm careful, I may be able to get these two to fit. Let's see if I rotate that one that way. Is that going to fit in there? No, not quite. So I'll rotate that one back and move it up a bit. Will that one fit down there? No, it won't. So that one's going to have to go to another sheet as well. Maybe I'll be able to make this work if I just shuffle them around a bit. Yeah, that's going to fit inside an A4 sheet there, 21 centimetres wide. On sheet 4, that one is overlapping a bit, but again I can probably move that, turn it around this way a bit, move it down. That's going to fit in there, I think. Yep, that is fitting. Sheet 5 looks okay. That's going to fit on an A4 sheet. I could make it a bit tighter by rotating that and bringing that one up a bit. Just make sure that it's definitely going to fit. And then sheet 6 is a bit of a squeeze there. I could either rotate things. Let's see if that's going to make us any more space. Yes, it is. I can move that up and then that one can come up as well. I can rotate that way a little bit. It'll fit better there. Right, so just look at that one. That's going to fit as well. So now if I just go through them all and check, that one will fit. The first sheet is empty and isn't actually going to be cut. That one's good. That one's definitely good. There's actually some space at the bottom. Likewise, sheet 4 is looking okay, as is 5, 6, 7, 8 is blank again, and 9 is good as well. Great, so now I can hit continue, and it looks for the Cricut Maker. I need to tell it what type of material I'm using, and this is about 180 GSM card I'm using, so I will select that. So the next step is to put my card onto the mat that will go in the machine, and then go over to the Cricut Maker and load the tools into it. So here's my card. As I said, A4, it's grey because I'm making an elephant. And I've got the light grip mat, which is sufficient to hold most cardstock down. You may want to use the standard grip mat for heavier materials like thicker card. So I'm going to take the cover sheet off the mat, take my first piece of card and stick it onto the mat, trying to get it fairly well aligned. The machine doesn't quite cut to the edge of the page, so I always come in a little bit, so I'm got a bit more of a margin on the right and at the bottom. And then using my brayer tool, I can push the card down onto the mat to make sure it's well stuck. And then, as I say, go over to the machine and get it to start on cutting this piece of card. So here at the machine, I can insert the mat, line it up with the wheels, and then press the arrow button to take it in. And then we need to make sure that we've got the correct tools loaded. So I'm taking out the cutting tool and putting in the scoring tool, and then I'm going to need a pen. Here's a grey pen, and I'm just going to insert that into the machine, push the clamp closed, and then all I need to do is press the Cricut button or the play button on more modern machines to start the machine actually putting the design onto the card. So when the first two tools have finished their work, the computer prompts you to put the fine point blade in. So let's do that, and then it will cut that card out. And so here you can see the finished piece. I want to remove that from the mat, and the best way to do that is to put the mat face down and then roll it backwards, and everything will peel off nice and flat. If you try and peel the card from the mat rather than the mat from the card, you tend to end up with the card curling, which makes it more difficult to then use when it's all curled up. So that's everything removed from the mat. We've got some waste that I can stick on my pile of bits I could reuse later. And then we've got 4 pieces cut out and labelled, ready to start making our elephant. But before we go any further, let's get the next piece loaded into the machine. So I need, again, to line my piece of card up, use the brayer tool to stick it down to the mat properly. Let's just make sure that they're not underneath as I do it, so don't put any creases into the new piece of card. And then again we can load it into the machine, making sure that we change back to the tools that it instructs. You can see here that it requires the single scoring wheel again, so let's change that over and cut the second sheet. And while that is going, I can be taking the pieces that have already cut and start applying the folds. You'll see where there is a fold that comes inwards, it's not labelled, you can just fold it in like that. But where you see arrows, that indicates that the fold should go outwards instead. So I just need to go through all of the score lines that have been put in by the Cricut Maker and fold them in the direction that's indicated by the pen marks on the piece. So again, this one has an arrow showing that it needs to be folded outwards. And where there aren't tabs, there are numbers to indicate the tab on another piece that should be glued to that point. So I just need to go through all of the pieces and put these folds in. Sometimes you'll find that there are pieces that are supposed to be glued to themselves, in which case both numbers, matching numbers, will be on the same piece of card. And to try and make your fold lines crisp and neat, and having had them pre-scored does make that easier. Careful to see that there isn't actually a score line on that one there. And the machine has just finished scoring, it's now writing the labels on. So here's the finished piece, and again with the mat facing down onto the table, I can peel everything off by rolling the mat and avoiding curving the card. And then it's just a question of loading the mat up with the next sheet, and off we go again. And while I'm waiting for that next piece to cut, I can start assembling this leg of the elephant, because a lot of these pieces are going to glue to each other on this particular element of the make. So again, just making sure I put all the folds in the right direction. And of course you always want to make sure that any labels are on the inside and not the outside of the piece. So here we've got arrows, so we need to make sure that that folds outwards. And then these fold inwards as well. And that's all the folds put into that piece. So now we can start gluing. And I've got these rather handy glue pots that you can find on Amazon with a needle into a pin rather to make sure that the nozzle doesn't get blocked, and in a very fine nozzle, so you've got good control over where you put the glue. So apply A little bit of glue there. Make sure that I'm matching up the correct tabs, and then pinch it and check from the outside that they are perfectly aligned. And a little bit of glue is oozed out, so I can use my finger to just clean that off. Make sure again that it hasn't moved. And while that's drying, I can start putting the glue on the next piece. So here's the next sheet, which I can again peel off in the same way. And once again, while that is being marked out, scored and cut, I can be working on the pieces that came off the last sheet. So here we have two pieces that fit together. I can see that the numbers match, 1, 3, 4, 8, 18 I think that is, no 48 and 38 and so on. So we can work our way around and stick these pieces together. Make sure that these do line up carefully, that we don't end up with bits of glue showing, which will, although they dry clear, they will be shiny. So to avoid those. It's just a question of making sure that everything is neatly aligned before setting it aside to let it dry. Another one to take off the mat. This is mat number 5. So this one is the last sheet. And that is the last mat cut. You can see that all 7 mats have got a tick next to them, showing that they have now been cut. So we can press done at the bottom to confirm that we're finished. The next step is to carry on folding and gluing until we've got an elephant. And it's important not to forget to put the protective sheet back onto the mat once we're done with it, trying to remove any debris before doing so, and that way it'll stay nice and clean, ready for the next time we want to use it. Try and line it up with the hole and flatten it down, and you can see I've written on it to indicate which is the front, so I always keep the dirty side up and the clean side down. I find it helpful here to use the weeding tool to help hold the various tabs in position here, because it's a very small hole to get your fingers into, so just got to make sure that everything lines up correctly, and then use the weeding tool to push those into position. This is quite fiddly, but hopefully the glue will dry shortly and we then won't have to worry. Applying the rest of the glue and fitting it together will also help to hold things in shape, so just apply the rest of that glue to those tabs, and then needle nose tweezers may also be of help here, so I've just fetched those and allow us to post the tabs into position, align everything correctly, and then make sure that it's stuck down. And then I think in this case it's just going to be a question of holding it until the glue dries. And again, whatever tools you can find to fit down the holes and apply pressure to make sure that the glue dries will help with making the correct shape finally stick. And the glue seems not to have taken on this bit, so I'm going to put a little bit more glue in there. And then make sure that that adheres, while again making sure there's no excess leaking out. And now we can stick the tail into the body. So now I need to find the next piece of body to attach, and that's not it. That's 60. That's 63 there. And 131. Lovely. These pieces belong together. Well, I want to make sure that it looks correct from the outside. That's the most important one, of course. Doesn't really matter what it looks like on the inside, as long as it's stuck properly. Okay, so let's find the back legs. That's a front leg. It says left back leg. So I'm guessing that this one will be the right back leg. And indeed it is. Now we have to work out how these fit in. So this, the left back leg, is going to be this one. My guess is then that 107 attaches just there. What's confused me is the fact that it says left, but this is actually the right back leg. So it's going to be easiest to apply all the glue for this leg all at once, because then I can align the tabs all in one go and then get them stuck down. And this is probably one of the more awkward parts, but fortunately I can get my hand into the back on the inside to make sure that they all stick down. When you're closing a section up, you can find that using double-sided tape is actually going to be easier than using glue. And I did sort of wonder whether I should try double-sided tape instead of glue on this one, but I was feeling brave or foolhardy, one of the two. Oh, I've knocked my tail out of alignment. I'll have to go back and fix that. I think we're getting to the point that it's sticking now, but I'm not quite happy with its alignment. There's a little bit of a gap here. I'm trying to close that. That looks a bit better. Let's apply another bit of glue to the tail here. And then make sure it posts inside and sticks down. While I'm waiting for that to dry, careful not to knock it. I'll put the glue on this tab and seal this one up. And again, this definitely says that it's the right back leg, but it's going in the position of the back the right back, the left back leg even. They're clearly just mislabeled in the original file because the folds are all correct. So the inner ones are coming outwards, which they have to in order to stick down. This leg is a little bit of a tight fit, so the other possibility would be to use a bit of tape to help hold it in place from the inside and let the glue dry with the tape in place. But I might do that. This masking tape should be sufficient. Just cut a couple of nice straight pieces. Part of the problem is that this has stuck down a little too tightly, so what I might do is just relieve that a bit and then glue it back a little bit wider. Once I've got my piece of tape in position to hold the leg correctly. It wants to be slightly further up. I misplaced that, so fortunately, of course, the masking tape will be a bit forgiving and allow me to unstick it and re-stick it to the correct position. I'll have one more for the other flap. So I've got that in position at the back, and then I just need a bit of glue here. Just stick that down and I'll try and stretch it out to cover the white bit as I've torn the top surface of this card, which it turns out isn't a solid colour but printed. And I may have to just find a paint or something to cover up the white bit. Now I'm actually able to pull it a little bit tighter and pretty much cover up the white. Good. So that's the back legs done. I'll work on the head a bit here. That is where the trunk is going to fit. So let's assemble the trunk next. Okay, so this is the last part of the trunk that needs gluing. Having the tweezers help to position the tabs. So you want to make sure that they're all stuck down in exactly the right place. Make sure that any excess glue is wiped away. And just hold it until it's sufficiently dried that it won't move anymore. And then it's just a question of applying glue to all the tabs. Make sure that we get them lined up with the correct numbers. And then apply some glue to the last tab here on the head part. And get them all to close up together. And then just make sure it's nice and neatly aligned. And again, hold it until they're reasonably well stuck and aren't going to move. And there we have the trunk attached. Coming back to the main body, we can start looking at attaching the front legs, and I'll go on based on the numbers rather than whether it says left or right front leg, based on the experience in the back legs. So that says 52 on the left, and I think that's 10 on the right, and 97, that's 23, 148. There we go, I've got that one aligned there. Good. Alright, this is where glue isn't actually going to work. I'm going to need to use double-sided tape here. So I want to make sure I've dried off the glue. And on this piece here, it's actually already pretty much dry. And then I cut a piece of tape to the approximate length, stick it to the tab, and then cut off the excess once it's on. It's helpful to keep the backing on the tape until you've applied all the tape you're going to need. Then you can take it all off at once and you're not fighting with it sticking itself down before you're ready. This piece didn't stick down, so I'm going to forget about the masking tape and use some double-sided tape on that one too. On the whole, I think glue is going to stick better than double-sided tape, so you want to still use glue where you can. But some of these, particularly when you're closing the shape up, become virtually impossible to use glue on because you've got so many different things all trying to stick down at the same time. So I need to make sure that the tape is stuck down on the other side first, and then I can peel up the backing. No, that's still not stuck properly. What can help is to use a blade to lift the backing. So it's still quite difficult to get these to align and stick, but the fact that the double-sided tape sticks immediately does mean that once you've got it, you have got it, and it stays put. This tab hasn't stuck properly, so I'm going to apply a bit more glue to it. And again, this one didn't stick properly, so another bit of double-sided tape can come to the rescue here. And like I say, when you're closing these up, you really don't have much choice but to use double-sided tape because the glue just isn't going to cut it. Rather than trying to get my scissors in here, I'm just going to fold the tape over because that sticky surface is going to remain inside and therefore isn't going to be a problem. I'm going to leave that flap open right until the end because it will help me get access to the, see this flap here, I'll leave open until the end so that I can still get access in while I'm attaching the other ear. Now I'll use glue for the top pieces as I did before. Actually changed my mind, didn't I, and used tape on the other one. Let's see if we can make this work. Yeah, this is not sticking, so I'm going to use tape for all of this. Right, so we're now at the end, so we need to remove all of these pieces of backing tape. Then we have to do a single alignment all in one go. This is always the trickiest bit, closing up a model, and it's why double-sided tape is the best option here, because trying to glue it in all those places simultaneously and get it right is just impossible. Right, here we go. So we have to get the piece aligned there. Make sure that they're not sticking to each other. And then that piece aligned there. Then make sure that these go down far enough so that they can stick like that. And then we need to pull up that final tab stick that down, and that is the elephant finished. It took me 3 3/4 hours to do that, but here's the result.